In a world spun wildly out of the ordinary, everything seemed flipped upside down. Here, women held the reins of power, assertive, commanding, unyielding. While men appeared subdued, their strength diminished, their roles reversed. They waited passively for women to make the first move. Women, unrestrained and aggressive, hunted for their marks. It was a landscape where the traditional balance had been shattered, replaced by a radical new order. Amid this chaos, fate had a peculiar sense of humor. A young man named Zeno found himself suddenly transported into this unfamiliar realm. The moment he awoke, the strange clarity of this new existence overwhelmed him. The goddess who had guided him here explained that, to return to his own world, he would need to adapt, specifically to embody the qualities of a masculine man within a society that no longer valued traditional masculinity. Zeno was a confident individual in his original universe, a man who enjoyed evenings out with his brothers, drinking and chasing women without hesitation. Now, he was trapped in a body that seemed to embody everything the new world despised about masculinity. Attractive, charming, yet vulnerable to an unconventional social order that viewed his kind with suspicion and disdain. As he wandered through the city streets, he discovered that in this realm, women were dominant in all sectors: politics, business, personal relations. They did not hold back their desire. Instead, they pursued men relentlessly, making the typical approach obsolete. Men, including Zeno, faced a daily challenge to assert themselves, to reclaim authority in a world that seemed set against them. From the very first day, Zeno realized that his appearance worked in his favor. His sharp features and confident aura made him especially attractive, with women giving him looks that conveyed both admiration and challenge. Yet, this attractiveness complicated his efforts to assume control, as women's forwardness left little room for traditional initiative. Every encounter became a test of his ability to lead. At school, the scene was no different. The girls vied for his attention with unwavering persistence, their chatter and teasing relentless. When he returned home, he was met with even more surprises. His stepsister, a bold and assertive young woman, was determined to push boundaries, encouraging him to do unthinkable things, trying to compel him into behaviors he would have never considered before. The line between friend and rival blurred. Her confident demeanor made it clear that in this society, women's dominance extended even into familial spaces. Meanwhile, Zeno's appearance had changed dramatically. His newfound attractiveness made him the object of envy and desire, but also of danger. Streets he used to walk confidently now felt tense. Trouble lurked around every corner. Bullying gangs, aggressive peers, even unfamiliar authority figures appeared ready to challenge or exploit him. A towering figure, nearly 2 meters tall and with intimidating tattoos, had recently accosted him, his swagger heavy with menace. The world had become a battlefield for survival, and every day demanded sharp wit and quick reflexes. In his quest to adapt, Zeno realized that asserting dominance required more than physical presence. It involved understanding the new social rules that inverted gender expectations and demanded a different kind of strength. To make women submissive or at least compliant in a society where they held all the power, he had to master a complex dance of boldness and confidence, testing boundaries without crossing into hostility. Another challenge arose when his friend suggested they spend the afternoon at the mall, discussing skincare routines and beauty treatments. In this reverse society, women excelled in physical strength and resilience, while men's roles focused increasingly on appearance and social manipulation. The idea of learning to apply makeup or get manicures was suddenly presented as necessary for integration, something that, in his original world, Zeno would never have considered. The days grew more confusing. As he navigated this new world, he was bombarded with memories from his former life. Moments of ease, confidence, and independence. Now, those memories clashed with his current reality, where societal norms cast him as an outsider struggling to find a foothold. He encountered cryptic advice from authoritative figures. His father, for example, suggesting that to survive and thrive, he should learn how to present himself better, including dressing stylishly or even exploring tattoo artistry. His father's tone was patronizing yet practical, focusing on appearance and self-care. concepts once foreign to him. These insights remained perplexing. Why was grooming so vital in a society where strength was measured differently? The narrative unfolded further, revealing that in this universe, history was deeply rooted in a matriarchal tradition. Empires risen and fallen had all been led by women. Men had been relegated to domestic roles, caretakers, naturals of nurturing rather than warfare. Biological differences had evolved so that women possessed greater physical durability, resilience, and dominance. Society's very fabric had shifted to support this inversion, creating an environment where masculinity was no longer the primary measure of worth. Throughout his continued wandering, Zeno observed the everyday realities of this reversed culture. At the marketplace, women accepted no dismissals. They pursued men with unrelenting confidence, often going as far as to suggest creative ways to attract their attention. Through manicures, facial treatments, or even self-defense tools like pepper spray, considering the fluctuating rise of unruly gangs and unruly criminals. Yet, Zeno's resistance grew. Frustrated by the pervasive presence of feminine dominance and the social expectations that came with it, he sought ways to reassert his masculinity. His approach was confrontational, refusing to accept the roles laid out for him, challenging the societal norms, and seeking opportunities to make the women around him submissive, or at least more amenable to his influence. In one frantic attempt, he and his friend entered a tattoo parlor, aiming to give himself a symbol of rebellion. A dragon, a phoenix, a tiger, images historically associated with strength and ferocity. The girls working there laughed at his request, dismissing tattoos as something only women would pursue. But he was unyielding, stripping off his shirt and insisting on the designs he desired, regardless of their protests. The scene escalated until he was caught mid-process, a symbol of his fight against societal expectations. Despite these efforts, his journey was fraught with obstacles. In every new encounter, whether with bullies, authority figures, or romantic interests, he encountered resistance rooted in the inverted social order. His attempts to dominate or influence the women only seemed to deepen the societal chasm. His sister, a striking example of the bold new womanhood, entered his room unannounced, further confusing his understanding of boundaries and relationships. Her presence unsettled him, and he hurriedly withdrew, pondering the complexity of his situation. As the day drew to a close, Zeno faced the internal struggle of whether to accept this world's rules or to fight for his original identity. Every effort to gain control was met with challenges, reinforcing his realization that victory depended not only on strength but also on mastering the nuanced game of social influence. His survival depended on adaptability, cunning, and resilience, qualities that in this universe were shaped by the dominance of women and the shift away from traditional masculinity. In essence, Zeno was caught in a battle not just for power but for understanding. He had to navigate a landscape where everything he knew about gender roles, strength, and influence had been upended. With each day, the stakes grew higher, and the question lingered. Could he find the key to asserting himself in a world that celebrated femininity and minimized masculinity, or would he be forever entangled in this confusing, upside-down society? This was a realm where strength was measured differently, and the fight for dominance was more complex than ever before. In a world that had been turned upside down, the young man found himself grappling with a strange new reality, one unfamiliar and perplexing in equal measure. His father had explained that his aunt and Chin-Chin would be staying with them for an indefinite period, a temporary arrangement driven by family circumstances. The realization sank in that his father's remarriage was imminent, which was why he had found himself in this unfamiliar environment. Their home, larger and more spacious than the one he used to know, had become a place of constant change and new faces. Yet one figure remained unchanged: Chin-Chin, who kept casting lingering glances at him, never quite letting go of her curiosity. His body felt weak, frail, even drained by the physical toll of recent days. The boy's mind was haunted by thoughts of the life he used to lead, where laziness and apathy seemed to reign. He often thought about the contrast of worlds, a place where women appeared to rule, where the traditional roles he knew had been upended entirely. His grasp on his identity wavered as he considered the changes around him. "I live in a society where women dominate," he mused quietly, feeling the weight of this new reality pressing down upon him. His father and brother had become different people altogether, unrecognizable from the men he had once known. He had been told to act femininely, a command that struck him as absurd. "I would never do that," he exclaimed aloud, frustration bubbling up. In a rage, he threw a plush teddy bear across the room, the soft toy bouncing off the walls, small next to the sprawling elements of his shifting universe. The idea of becoming beautiful, wearing makeup, dressing in dresses, seemed distant, almost surreal, especially given his current state. He reflected bitterly that he hadn't even managed to get a tattoo today, a small symbol of his desire for personal expression in this bizarre world. His world seemed to tilt further when he realized he was now living in a realm where women had assumed control, prompting him to become more conscious of his own behavior. Women had garnered authority, transforming him into someone with completely different standards. If everything is turned upside down, he thought, then I must behave more femininely. His own voice, loud and defiant, clashed with the societal expectations that had been suddenly imposed upon him. "I would never do that," he shouted, unconsciously throwing a stuffed bear in a fit of defiance. The stuffed toy now felt insignificant, dwarfed by two enormous spheres, conceptually representing the strange, larger-than-life ideas that invaded his mind. A younger sister, Zhang apologized for something that felt trivial in the grand scheme of things. Yet she was met with fierce resistance from her older sibling, who pounced on her without hesitation. The boy, our hero, watched this scene unfold, pondering the bizarre power dynamics at play. Our hero told her she was drunk, the narrative noted, but the girl's response was unrelenting. She approached him and placed her hand on his face, impossibly warm and sticky, probing him as she asked if he missed her. He looked away, awkward and unable to find the words. She, sensing his shyness, pressed further, asking why he was blushing so deeply. His face turned even redder. He was clearly unwell or overwhelmed. "I'm fine," he muttered, blood trickling from his nose. A sign of how overwhelmed he was by this unfolding chaos. Despite his protestations, the girl persisted, her eyes filled with concern and curiosity. Later that night, a strange voice woke him from a disturbed sleep. His eyelids fluttered as he opened his eyes halfway. Suddenly, he sensed a looming presence. One of those muscular creatures, poised and ready to attack. Panic surged through him as he questioned his own senses. "What the hell?" he asked aloud, eyes darting around for the source. And then she appeared, an imposing figure, again emphasizing her dominance. She grasped his chin firmly and declared herself as the entity responsible for bringing him into this world. His memories rushed back. The eerie moment when a crimson moon had appeared overhead, casting an unnatural glow. That feeling of dread returned, familiar and terrifying. "It was you," he murmured, recognizing her. "Why did you bring me here? What have I done to deserve this?" he demanded. The creature introduced herself as the goddess of the red moon, her voice both commanding and enigmatic. She admitted to overhearing his prayers, uttered in despair or hope, and revealed that she had answered them in her own mysterious way. He recalled his youthful complaints about staying a virgin, how he had lamented his lack of a partner in this strange new society. And now, he faced the disturbing truth that almost all women in this world were willing to pursue him, no matter what. The goddess explained that, in this universe, male physiology had been altered profoundly. Men shared bodily traits with women, menstruation, physiological similarities, all designed to prevent males from remaining virgins. The realization was staggering. God, this world is a nightmare, he thought despairingly, falling to the ground in shock. He questioned whether he could find a way back, pondering whether understanding the eventful night of his arrival might hold the key to escape. Perhaps if he could recreate that moment, the universe would allow his departure. But doubts crept in. How could he, an ordinary high school student with no wealth or influence, achieve such a feat? He dismissed the idea for now, resolving to delay his plans. Suddenly, a voice cut through his thoughts, playful and teasing. "Hey, are you awake?" it asked. He looked up and saw a girl, dressed in peculiar clothing, smirking at him. "What is this outfit? As if you're not like this normally," she said with a wink. The girl's mischievous expression made it clear that she was a part of this strange world, familiar yet alien. She teased him further, her words flirtatious but also teasing, implying that they should enjoy life despite the chaos. She mentioned that her sister had prepared breakfast, inviting him to join, suggesting that perhaps he should relax and accept the new reality. In those moments, he felt a strange sense of relief, recognizing that maybe, despite all the upheaval, this world was not entirely terrible. As the next chapter began, he prepared himself for the day ahead, heading to school once again in this bizarre universe. His face, handsome and composed, contrasted sharply with his inner discomfort. He knew he was too delicate, too feminine in appearance and demeanor, to fit into what he used to consider a masculine ideal. The thought lingered as he made his way to the school, uncertain yet curious about what awaited him. At home, his stepfather was giving him a playful pat on the backside, an action that made him uncomfortable, but he had no choice but to act casually. He managed a polite apology before rushing to school, eager to escape the awkward surroundings. His best friend, Lon Lon, greeted him eagerly, and they shared a laugh over a fashionable lipstick he had recently acquired. "Isn't this color amazing?" he asked, hope sparking in his eyes. Lon Lon responded with good-natured teasing, remarking on how much he had changed. But beneath the surface, he wondered about the rigid notions of masculinity ingrained in this society. He expressed a desire to become a genuine man, an authentic counterpart to the men he once knew. His friend's response was dismissive, calling such pursuits foolish. Yet deep down, he was determined to redefine himself, to find a place where he belonged in this strange, new world. Throughout this tumultuous journey, he faced constant challenges and moments of introspection. Each day brought new revelations about his identity, societal norms, and the strange rules that governed this universe. His quest to understand and adapt was ongoing, woven through the fabric of a society radically transformed beyond his previous comprehension. As new chapters of his life unfolded, he gradually learned to navigate the complexities of this reality. Despite the absurdity and confusion, he refused to give up hope, striving to find meaning and purpose amid the chaos that now defined his existence. In a world vastly different from his own, Lonan found himself embroiled in a series of unexpected events that challenged everything he believed about himself and the society around him. It all began with a seemingly harmless walk through the school corridors, but quickly spiraled into an overwhelming whirlwind of encounters, realizations, and dilemmas that left him questioning his identity and purpose. It started when he was approached by a tall stranger who seemed to sense the tension simmering beneath the surface. The man, with piercing eyes and an imposing stance, looked directly at Lonan and asked, "Is there someone over there watching us?" Lonan hesitated for a moment before nodding cautiously. The stranger, unfazed, gestured toward a young woman standing nearby. She appeared to be a modified version of someone named Rachit Zongao, with a confident posture that contrasted sharply with Lonan's own uncertainty. The man, whose name seemed to be Zongao, chuckled softly and remarked, "Are you afraid of her? She's just a girl, nothing to fear. If she tried to hurt you, I'd already be on her," he said with a firm tone, his voice imbued with warmth yet authority. His words carried an underlying message about gender equality, a topic that seemed both foreign and provocative in this unfamiliar setting. Lonan shivered, beads of sweat forming on his forehead as he tried to comprehend the situation. "Stop panicking," Zongao continued, noticing Lonan's discomfort. "You're not even strong enough to lift a single brick. What are you so worried about?" The question stung, a sharp reminder of his perceived weakness. But deep inside, Lonan was desperate to change that. Memories of his past training routines flickered through his mind. He used to attend the gym nightly, had once been part of an MMA club, and believed that strength could be built through perseverance and discipline. Without thinking further, he grabbed Lonan by the arm and ran with him toward the school's main building. "Let's go to the gym," Zhang Ao suggested, a hint of encouragement in his voice. Lonan protested, "Oh God, I hate running. I'll ruin my makeup if I do anymore." He wondered why he was sprinting and felt frustration over his body's weakness, questioning why such a fragile form had chosen him. Eventually, they reached what seemed to be a business school, a place he immediately noted felt completely different from his old world. The atmosphere was sharper, the people more confident, and the girls were undeniably stronger and more assertive than he remembered. He realized that gender stereotypes had shifted dramatically here. Roles once rigid had evolved into something entirely new. Moreover, his family's wealth was evident. He belonged to the privileged elite, able to afford this expensive private institution. The contrast was stark with his previous life. While in class, a young man approached a girl and asked, "Could you open this bottle for me?" Her face lit up with a friendly smile. "Sure, I'll do it," she replied cheerfully. He scoffed inwardly. "He can't even open a bottle? Give me a chance." Carefully, he tried and finally managed to unscrew the cap. A rush of pride surged within him, though he couldn't shake the feeling that this world was full of unfamiliar challenges. Later, as he wandered the hallways, Lonan wished for companionship. He longed for someone to stick with him, to face these new pressures together. "Wait for me," he thought, hesitating. "Maybe we should go to the bathroom together." Without waiting for a response, he hurried ahead, feeling an odd mixture of apprehension and loneliness. As he moved through the corridors, he heard the fluttering whispers of admiration from the girls. "Oh my God, his skin is so smooth, like porcelain, and his backside is so perfect, I want to squeeze it." The comments made him uncomfortable yet curious about the nature of this attention. He wondered privately, is this what sexual harassment feels like? The thought unsettled him. He knew he needed to do something about his body, to become stronger, both physically and mentally. He pulled out his phone, searching for beginner martial arts classes. "This looks promising," he thought. "I should sign up. Physical training alone won't make me a true man. I need to be mentally prepared too." Deep down, he understood that becoming confident required more than just muscle. It demanded resilience and a determined mindset. His thoughts were interrupted when a girl named Yen Yuan approached him unexpectedly. She had a surprisingly assertive demeanor. "Are you some kind of ninja?" she asked with a mischievous grin. "Sneaking up on me like that?" She apologized, explaining she was calling him but couldn't resist staring at her phone. Then she leaned in closer, her tone turning more intimate. "Are you sure you're not doing anything wrong? You're not talking to another girl, are you?" Her sudden proximity startled him. "Stop it," he stammered. "No, I would never do something like that. I am a traditional person. I don't like people getting too close in public." Yet, she was quick. She reached for his hand, her fingers delicate but firm. "Your hands are so soft and beautiful," she whispered, holding them gently. His mind raced. These girls seemed aggressive yet oddly charming. "Be careful," Lonan thought, feeling uncomfortable. "Yen Yuan, you shouldn't act like this. You've been different today. Are you all right?" she asked, noting his change in behavior. "Maybe you haven't been sleeping well," she added, offering a gentle suggestion. "Let me give you a massage to relax your hands." Before he could protest, she moved to touch him. Fear gripped him. He struggled to push her away, feeling her strength more than he anticipated. Suddenly, a teacher entered the room swiftly, breaking the moment. "Everyone, sit down," she commanded. "The class is about to start." The interruption was welcome, providing a much-needed escape from the uncomfortable intimacy. Zhang Ao, sitting nearby, noticed how well Lonan seemed to understand the lesson's content. It was peculiar. He had graduated long ago in his original world, yet here he was, confidently answering questions in a high-level class. "Ask me anything," he said with a confident smile, "and I'll respond without hesitation." The teacher, noting his composure, nodded approvingly. He adjusted his glasses and replied, "I'm fine. It's just a bit warm today. Do you want to go to the nurse's office?" The girls around him commented on his unusual behavior, whispering that he seemed different. Shrugging, He thought, I'll do whatever I like, feeling a strange sense of detachment from his usual self. Walking beside Lonan, he asked, "What's wrong? You look exhausted." Lonan responded vaguely, "You have no idea how I feel. I am very mentally exhausted." A girl carrying 3 basketballs approached and exclaimed, "I just made a 3-point shot. Did I look pretty awesome?" He watched her, thinking, what the hell is going on? Descending some stairs, a boy suddenly threw himself onto the ground, shouting, "Why did you push me?" Trying to pin the blame on someone else. The chaos seemed relentless, an odd reversal of his past experiences. This world is upside down, he thought with frustration. Another girl then approached him and softly said, "I've liked you since the day we met. Do you want to go out with me?" Her words ignited a surge of confusion and annoyance within him. "Sorry," he muttered. "I'm not looking for a relationship right now. My mental health is falling apart." He stepped away, feeling overwhelmed. Lonan, watching from a distance, murmured to himself with a mixture of envy and sadness. 20 confessions in a single day. I just want to be a popular guy, like him. Later, in line at the cafeteria, he pondered what to eat. His eyes darted between the dishes. The food portions of the other students were surprisingly small. "Why is everyone eating so little?" he asked Lonan. The latter replied, "Are you serious? Every guy needs to eat enough or you'll get fat. You don't want that, do you?" He ordered a salad and some fried vegetables, puzzled by the absence of rice or hearty dishes. "I'm going to faint this afternoon," he thought, realizing how different caloric needs were here. In his mind, he began to draft a mental list. What does it take to become a real man? Step 1, he thought, is probably to get stronger both physically and mentally. This was only the beginning of his journey through this strange new world, one where societal roles and expectations had shifted into something almost unrecognizable. And so, amid the chaos, the confusion, and unfolding challenges, he embarked on a quest not only to find strength, but also to understand himself in a universe that was constantly rewriting the rules he once knew. On a bright, brisk morning in early spring, Alexander awoke with a sense of purpose that burned deeper than usual. The air was crisp, and the promise of a new beginning filled every corner of his modest apartment. Today marked the start of a journey that would challenge every preconceived notion he held about himself, about life, and about masculinity. He had made a decision that had been weighing heavily on his mind for months. It was time to shed the old layers, the superficial trappings of vanity and complacency, and step into a version of himself that was stronger, more authentic. His wardrobe, filled with stylish but frivolous attire that he had clung to out of habit, was the first to go. With determined hands, he sorted through his closet, removing every article that failed to serve his new purpose, a symbol of his intention to pursue a more genuine and disciplined existence. Next, he reached out to his oldest friend, Lon, a reliable companion who had always believed in Alexander's potential. "I need you to help me," he said over the phone, voice steady but eager. "I want to train seriously, to become the kind of person I admire." Lon's enthusiastic response reaffirmed Alexander's resolve. The days ahead would be focused, filled with physical training, mental resilience, and self-reflection. As he committed to this fresh start, Alexander realized that his environment played a crucial role. He resolved to distance himself from old distractions, specifically, his obsession with superficial appearances and fleeting pleasures. Instead, he decided to dedicate time to more meaningful pursuits, learning new skills, cultivating inner strength, and building authentic relationships. In the midst of this transformation, Alexander found himself in a bustling cafeteria, surrounded by a crowd of students and young professionals. The aroma of diverse cuisines wafted through the air, creating a lively tapestry of sounds and smells. He observed a scene unfolding across the room. A young man, perhaps in his early 20s, was devouring a massive plate of food, pork ribs, rice, and all sorts of Asian delicacies. His appetite seemed insatiable, drawing curious glances from others. The young man's companion, a girl named Li Fan, watched him with a mixture of surprise and amusement. Why are you eating so much? She asked, slightly puzzled. You're going to gain weight. He chuckled, replying confidently, a real man needs to eat more, especially when he's working out. His words carried a tone of pride, as if defending his choice to indulge. The onlookers whispered among themselves. They questioned whether this extraordinary appetite was a sign of arrogance or simply a hearty hunger. Some seemed to suspect that he might be pretending to be unbothered by social norms. Meanwhile, Li Fan's gaze lingered on him, her eyes revealing either admiration or concern. Suddenly, another student named Li Fan appeared beside the food enthusiast, a teasing smile on her face. Why do you eat so much? Do you look like an outsider working hard to make a living? She asked, playfully but with a hint of sarcasm. Her words echoed in the cafeteria, sparking a tense exchange. The young man, Zhang Gao, responded with a teasing tone. Are you making fun of me? His voice was sharp, but his smile remained. I've studied with you, haven't I? Besides, I've gained some weight lately, but it's just part of growing stronger. He gestured to the crowd, asserting his confidence. Li Fun, feeling the sting of these remarks, accused him of being prejudiced, insulting immigrants and those with different body types. That's just discrimination, she declared. It's ugly to judge people based on their appearance. Her words resonated with others, creating a shift in the atmosphere. Some students looked away, awkwardly avoiding the confrontation, while others showed silent support. Zhang Gao, touched by her honesty, appeared to be on the verge of tears. I didn't mean to hurt anyone, he muttered, voice trembling. The scene grew tense as classmates took sides, some sympathizing with Li Fan, others with him. The division revealed underlying issues of societal judgments and personal insecurities. Amidst the turmoil, another girl, a friend of Li Fan's, stepped forward. She placed a hand on her friend's shoulder and said softly, It's not fair to judge someone solely based on their eating habits. We should be more understanding. Her voice, calm and measured, helped diffuse the tension. Meanwhile, Zhang Gao looked away, feeling vulnerable yet grateful for the support. He muttered to himself, maybe I've been too sensitive. His sense of identity as a man, someone who needed to prove his strength, was challenged not only by others but also by his own insecurities. In a different scene, in the schoolyard, a boy named Lan Lan watched the interactions quietly. Curious about the fuss, he approached a girl sitting alone near the window, a transfer student named Mingyuan. Lonely and somewhat shy, she sat with a book in her lap but appeared lost in thought. Lan Lan hesitated a moment, then asked gently, Who's that girl sitting alone? Mingyuan looked up, surprised by the question. That's Mingyuan, she replied softly. She transferred here recently. Her voice was quiet, almost hesitant. Feeling a mixture of curiosity and friendliness, Lan Lan decided to introduce himself. Hi, I'm Lan Lan, he said smiling. Would you like to be friends? Mingyuan nodded shyly but didn't reply immediately. Her eyes revealed a hint of sadness, a story she was reluctant to share. Lan Lan noticed a book in her hands, a novel with a worn cover. Are you reading something interesting? He asked. She looked down, then responded, Just a story I like. It helps me forget about everything. Her words were vague, hinting at deeper feelings of loneliness. Sensing her hesitance, Lan Lan offered a friendly gesture. If you want, I can introduce you to some games or activities. Maybe it'll help you feel more at home. Mingyuan hesitated but then nodded again, a faint smile breaking through her guarded expression. A playful conversation began to unfold. Lan Lan suggested they try playing a new online game called League of Legends, a popular multiplayer arena game. He explained that it was a team-based strategy game, emphasizing cooperation and skill. Have you ever played it? He asked. Mingyuan shook her head. I've heard of it but never tried. Is it complicated? She asked. Lan Lan reassured her. It's a bit challenging at first, but once you get the hang of it, it's quite fun. He paused, then added, Some people say only girls excel at it, but that's not true. Many guys play well too. Mingyuan looked curious. Really? I thought it was mainly for girls. Lon Lon explained, that's a stereotype. The truth is, anyone can enjoy these games, regardless of gender. It's about skill and teamwork. His words made her smile slightly. They continued talking, sharing their favorite characters and strategies. Lon Lon decided to invite her to join him in playing someday. You might like it, he said confidently. Mingyuan agreed, feeling a small sense of hope. Later that day, back at home, Lon Lon was relaxing to music when his sister walked into the room. What are you doing here? She asked. He responded casually, just listening to some music. Want to hang out? She came closer, noting his relaxed posture. Are you okay? She asked with concern. He shrugged. Yeah, just thinking about new ways to improve myself. She studied him, sensing a change in his demeanor. You seem different lately, she observed. Maybe you've become more serious about everything. He nodded, a quiet resolve in his eyes. As evening approached, Lon Lon reflected on the day's events, the conversations, the challenges, the new friendships forming. He realized that true strength came not just from physical prowess but from understanding, empathy, and the courage to stand up for oneself and others. He knew that, moving forward, his goal was to become not only a stronger individual but also a better person. Someone capable of facing every obstacle with integrity and compassion. And as he looked out his window into the darkening sky, he felt a newfound sense of purpose filling his heart, ready to embrace the path ahead. In the dim glow of a hazy evening, Zango found himself plagued by an internal battle, a relentless tug-of-war that raged between his primal instincts and the remnants of his cultivated confidence. It was as if an angel and a demon sat on his shoulders, whispering conflicting advice and temptations, vying for his attention as he navigated the complex labyrinth of his mind. The path of the so-called Sigma male was one of stoic resistance, of enduring temptations with unwavering resolve. Yet, the demon's voice grew more insistent, a dark whisper urging him to give in, to surrender to primal urges that seemed so tempting in moments of weakness. Forget about the Sigma, the demon hissed. Real men, true alphas, are at the top of the hierarchy. If a girl tries to flirt, you should seize the moment, dominate, and take what's yours. It was a seductive, dangerous mindset, one that threatened to drag him into a cycle of impulsivity and desire. In an impulsive burst of adrenaline, Zango's instincts took over. Panic surged through him as he reached out, grabbing the girl by the shoulders in a rush of adrenaline, and pushed her onto the bed. Her surprised eyes met his as he towered over her momentarily, his breath ragged, his mind tangled in chaos. She looked at him with a mixture of confusion and curiosity, caught off guard by his sudden aggression. Whoa, wait, what's happening? She asked, her voice trembling with a mix of innocence and unexpected allure. He was bewildered by his own actions. Sweat beaded on his forehead as he desperately tried to regain control, but his mind was flooded with a haunting memory. An image flashed violently, a phrase carved into his consciousness. You are mine. Wherever you go, I will find you. The words echoed with a chilling certainty, sending shockwaves through his psyche. Frozen, he took a step back, heart pounding in his chest, recalling the inexplicable but persistent thought that haunted his mind. What was that mysterious recollection trying to reveal? His sister, noticing his distressed state, gently shook him by the shoulders. Her concern was evident as she asked, Are you feeling okay? You're looking rather pale. He attempted to dismiss her worry, claiming he simply needed rest, but the unease lingered. She, perceptive and caring, pressed further, teasing him with affection. Come on, cowboy, you're a good boy. You should listen to your sister. Her words, meant to soothe, only added a layer of vulnerability to his tumultuous feelings. Determined to change his outward appearance, Zango made a decisive move. He visited a nearby beauty salon, hoping that a fresh haircut might boost his confidence. The stylist welcomed him warmly, commenting on his already handsome features and promising to find the best hairstylist for him. Despite his initial insistence that he just needed a simple trim, He was convinced to try something new, something bold. The stylist, with a playful smirk, asked him what style he wanted. He responded vaguely, indicating only that he wanted it short, no particular style or preference, just cut it short. The stylist hesitated at first, never having received such an unorthodox request. But eventually, she set to work. As she snipped away, she joked about making him look even more attractive. "I'll make you even more handsome," she said with a wink. After what felt like an eternity, she finished the haircut. Looking in the mirror, Zango was surprised. His hair was short, perhaps even more so than he anticipated. Yet, strangely, he felt its effect. The appearance of confidence and strength seemed enhanced, and despite the unconventional cut, he could see himself in a new light. The stylist, noticing his hesitation about paying, offered to take a photo for promotion, but he immediately refused, preferring to pay fully rather than have his image used for publicity. She reluctantly agreed, telling him to just let her know if he needed professional help anytime. Outside, Zango wondered whether this small change might give him the extra charisma he'd been lacking. Back at home, he examined his fresh hairstyle in the mirror, pondering how it suited his image. To be honest, it didn't scream dominant alpha, but he figured it was a start. The new haircut made him feel a bit adventurous, a little bolder than before. Next, he thought about updating his wardrobe to match his new look, but when he opened his closet, frustration quickly set in. His clothes were outdated or unappealing, leaving him feeling stuck. Later, his father called him, visibly surprised at the drastic change in his hair. "What happened to your hair? Why did you cut it so short?" his father asked with a hint of concern and annoyance. Zango tried to explain that it was simply uncomfortable and that it was bothering his eyes. His father, clearly displeased, accused him of trying to provoke him, telling him that it wasn't a good look and reminding him of the importance of maintaining a more traditional appearance. But their conversation was interrupted by Chinchin, a family friend, who approached with a cheerful smile. She reassured his father, saying, "There's nothing wrong with what he did. It makes him look much better." Her words calmed the situation, and she told Zango to stay calm and not to worry too much about his haircut. As she left for her room, she hinted that she had a small gift for him, sparking his curiosity. In his sister's room, Zango was presented with a surprise: a pair of elegant black diamond earrings. They looked expensive, and although he was reluctant due to lack of funds, he decided to keep them. Just then, he received a message from Lono, an acquaintance. The message announced that the new novel he had been developing was now ready and that the contract had been signed. Excitement bubbled within him as he realized he would finally start earning money from his writing. With a sense of accomplishment, Zango decided to celebrate. He headed to the nearby shop for ice cream, feeling nostalgic about the neighborhood and past memories. As he thought about those days, his mind drifted to Ma, a girl from a nearby grocery store, whom he admired and even wanted to confess his feelings to. Memories flooded back. How she was small but somehow felt larger than life in his eyes, and how he had mustered courage once to tell her, only for her to respond that she preferred guys with muscles. Now he was a different person, more confident, more attractive, and ready to make his move if the opportunity arose. As he entered the shop, he overheard a conversation about making money, which caught his attention. Suddenly, Ma appeared unexpectedly, paper in hand. She looked the same, her disciplined appearance unchanged, yet her physique hinted at a recent transformation that took Zango aback. It was obvious she had been using steroids, and she greeted him warmly with a familiar smile. His surprise was evident, and he stumbled upon the floor, overwhelmed by her presence and the unexpected change. As their eyes met, the past and present collided within him, prompting a mixture of admiration, nostalgia, and curiosity about the woman she had become. The scene opened quietly, capturing a moment of silent tension. A worried voice broke the stillness, asking softly, "What's wrong? Do you need something?" The boy, lost in thought, responded with a distressed shout, "Diosa!" His voice echoed through the room, revealing a mixture of frustration and desperation. "Return my mother to me," he demanded, clenching his fists as the weight of his emotions pressed heavily on his shoulders. The next chapter unfolded with him seated on a humble wooden chair, his gaze fixed on the horizon as a girl approached carrying watermelons. She seemed to have fainted and whispered faintly, "No, miss, I don't want this," in a trembling voice. But before she could finish, he reached out and grabbed her by the shoulder with surprising force, causing the chair beneath him to break apart abruptly. A ripple of concern flashed across her face as she asked hurriedly, "Are you okay?" Quickly, he sprang up, executing acrobatic moves to steer clear of her and avoid further trouble. "I'm fine," he insisted, brushing himself off. "I need to leave right now." She tried to hand him her number, but his mind was elsewhere, pondering a strange thought. Even that tiny girl turned into a giant. "I need to enroll in a class as soon as possible, perhaps even a martial arts course," he mused inwardly. His thoughts then drifted to his sister, for whom he needed to buy gifts and replace his wardrobe, expenses that weighed heavily on his mind. Everything costs money, he sighed, realizing that, despite reversed roles and unexpected shifts, the persistent issue remained money. Back at home, his younger sister, Chin Chin, greeted him with bright enthusiasm. "You've returned," she exclaimed, her eyes shining with joy. He was stunned upon seeing her. "Oh my goodness, Chin Chin," he thought, surprised at her practicing yoga. She nodded affirmatively, explaining, "I just wanted to try a little of what boys usually do." He pondered, is yoga something boys do here? What kind of world is this? She stepped closer to him, her expression serious. "Hey, where are you going with that hand?" she asked, implying a warning. Her tone was instructive. "You need to get stronger, so you're not intimidated at school." A wave of embarrassment washed over him. He felt a sharp sting of shame. "Oh my God," he thought, seeing himself as so fragile. How much could he endure? Deciding to prove his strength, he challenged Chin Chin. "Want to try a strength contest? Let's see who's stronger." She nodded eagerly, and he added playfully, "And the loser promises something to the winner." They clasped hands, the contest beginning with a loud bang. This isn't just a handshake, he thought fiercely, channeling the strength of countless ancestors. Yet, even with all his resolve, Chin Chin struggled, showing signs of fatigue. His worry grew. He didn't want her to get hurt. When she finally released her grip, he asked softly, "Are you okay?" She looked up at him, smiling shyly. "Yes," she answered. He finally admitted defeat, asking what she wanted as a prize. She simply replied, "I want to experience the feeling of lying on a pillow," leaving him puzzled. When she then laid her head on his lap, he was taken aback. What kind of game was this? Yet he thought she can do as she pleases. Later, while immersed in writing his novel, his phone buzzed, interrupting his concentration. It was Yen Yuan, a school friend with blonde hair, inviting him to an amusement park. She mentioned that Long Long and others would also be there. Just then, noises from outside his window caught his attention. He looked out and saw Long Long, who appeared to be his sister. Without hesitation, he leapt onto him for reassurance. Surprised, he asked, "Who is this girl?" Long Long, visibly annoyed, cried out, "Don't you remember me? How could you forget after all this time?" He explained that 4 years had rolled by since they last met. Despite his reluctance, Long Long insisted they go to the amusement park, claiming she needed some friends. Weighed down by responsibilities and a growing pile of expenses, he reluctantly agreed. "Fine, get dressed," he said, as she snapped a photo of his appearance. She remarked on his handsome look, causing him to nervously think, "I've been caught again." They prepared and headed out. On the way, Long Long's sister took a picture, speaking admiringly about his handsome appearance. Nervous, he couldn't help but think, "I'm utterly trapped." They went to a haunted house, but Long Long was visibly nervous, trembling as she complained she didn't want to go. "Come on," Zango encouraged her. "You're a man. Be brave." A brief argument ensued over who would accompany whom, and eventually, Yuan, Long Long, and her sister paired off, leaving Zango alone. Inside the haunted house, Zango asked Yuanyuan, "Are you scared?" She didn't answer, so he teased, "If you're afraid, just hold on to me." She silently took his hand, and together, they navigated the eerie, spine-chilling attractions. Zango caught sight of skeletons hanging around but tried to stay lighthearted, joking, "Sorry, brother, I'm in a hurry," to mask his nervousness. After wandering through the ghostly maze for a while, he suddenly realized Yuanyuan was missing. His heart pounded as he searched frantically, until he heard a faint voice coming from a nearby closet. Opening it, he found her crying softly inside. He gently reassured her, "Don't be afraid, I'll take care of you." Her shyness was evident as she hesitantly took his hand. After a while, they exited the haunted house, and Long cheerfully shouted she'd never go back inside. Yuanyuan teased that she wouldn't return after all, and Zango playfully nudged her on the forehead. The group then left for home, with everyone feeling energized but also exhausted from the strange adventure. Suddenly, June, looking visibly tired, staggered and then fainted, causing everyone to panic. Some suggested calling an ambulance, but Zango recommended a calmer approach. "Let's take her to a bench and let her rest," he advised, thinking she might have fainted from fright. They laid her on the bench and Zango insisted, "You need to perform mouth-to-mouth resuscitation," which June protested, "No, we should call an ambulance." Concerned but cautious, he decided it was best not to worsen her condition. "Just go buy some water and snacks," he instructed, gently placing her head on his lap and massaging her ears softly. June slowly opened her eyes, confused and disoriented. "What are you doing?" she asked. "I was just trying to wake you up," he explained softly. She admitted she was scared and was reassured by his calm presence. "It would be better if you avoided haunted houses in the future," he suggested gently, and she closed her eyes, drifting back into sleep. Zango secretly thought to himself that she was the most composed and reserved girl he had ever met in this world, noting her unique personality. Eventually, everyone checked on June's condition. They asked how she was feeling, and she insisted she was fine. Yen Yuan proposed they continue their day at the amusement park, but Zango decided it was best to head home first. As they walked, Yuanyuan, holding his hand, asked if they could go together. Her friends, Long and her sister, looked displeased with the decision but remained silent. Later, they arrived at a grand mansion, where servants greeted them. The maid scolded Yuanyuan for wandering off to play and warned her not to go so far. To everyone's surprise, they discovered that Yuanyuan was from an incredibly wealthy family, a fact that explained her ease in navigating the luxury surrounding her. The mansion's opulence was breathtaking, and it became clear that her privileged background was vastly different from his own humble origins. This contrast deepened the chasm of their worlds, but it also sparked curiosity and a strange new admiration in him for her. As the story unfolded, he realized that beneath the veneer of wealth and privilege, there was a girl with a gentle, timid heart, concealing her fears behind a composed facade. Their journey, filled with surprises, challenges, and moments of tenderness, was only beginning, shaping the course of their intertwined destinies amid a world that seemed both strange and wondrous. In a peaceful yet lively household, the butler moved with quiet purpose, his demeanor calm and assured. Everyone knew him as a reliable and discreet attendant, dedicated to tending to the needs of his young mistress. As he went about his duties, a sense of familiarity and warmth filled the air. Today, the household was preparing for a special occasion, and the atmosphere was filled with anticipation and a touch of celebration. A platter of delicacies was presented, featuring bread freshly baked by master chefs renowned for their culinary artistry. The offerings, rich and tempting, were accompanied by a cup of mineral water, sourced from a rare, pristine spring. The environment was refined and elegant, designed to impress even the most discerning guests. The crowd gathered was notably struck by the luxurious displays, whispering in awe about the costliness and craftsmanship behind the treats. Joa, among those present, excused herself from the group for a moment. She had promised herself to change into more suitable attire, eager to appear her very best. As she stepped into her chamber, her eyes wandered over the furnishings. Her wardrobe was filled with elegant garments that only hinted at her family's considerable wealth. She was unaware of the glances her affluent wardrobe attracted, whispers of admiration flowing among those outside her door. Meanwhile, the household continued its preparations. Despite the splendor surrounding her, Joa felt a nagging sense of emptiness. Her heart longed for connection, and as she left her room, she found herself murmuring softly about her family members. Her father, busy abroad, and her mother, often occupied with city affairs. She wondered aloud why her father hadn't called her yet, expressing subtle disappointment. The butler replied gently, explaining that her father was deeply involved in matters overseas, but assured her that he would bring gifts upon his return. Nevertheless, Joa dismissed the explanation, sensing that her parents' busy schedules kept them distant. Later, Joa returned to her chamber, now dressed in more exquisite clothes. To her, the transformation was remarkable. Others present were captivated by her changed appearance. Her elegance was undeniable. Yet, beneath her beauty, a shadow of melancholy lingered. Her expression was wistful as she looked into a mirror, quietly wishing for attention and affection. Sensing her mood, the butler approached gently, asking what troubled her. With a soft voice, Joa responded sadly, revealing that her father had once again failed to call. The uncertainty about her family's affections left her feeling isolated. Noticing her distress, the butler attempted to console her, offering awkward but sincere words. "Perhaps I can help in some way." She took his hands in hers and, with a sparkle of resolve in her eyes,